You'll see Xavier. I decided to visit Xavier in the library. We had a talk yesterday about what happened to the world. I'm still curious about the events that followed. Maybe I'll ask him what the previous world looked like. I knocked softly before pushing the door open, and Xavier looks up from his documents. Roger, I didn't expect to see you so soon. You smell herbal, and let me guess, Wilfred gave you his ointment, subject? Yeah, he said it'll make the aches easier. Told me to rub it where it hurts. Glad to hear you have one of those. You're going to need it. Kind of burns at first, but it works, I guess. Or it works alright. Got his older versions. It still works like a charm. Now, what do you want? I don't have much to do, and it seems like you know more about stuff. Let me guess, you want to learn more about the past. Yeah, I keep thinking about what we talked about yesterday, the world and how it collapsed. Alright, sit down and I'll tell you about it. But this is only my perspective and experiences, so I might get biased about it. I sat down on the same chair where I was yesterday. I leaned into Xavier as he pulled out a book from the container. He sat down. Yay. Yeah! I sat down on the same chair where I was yesterday. I leaned into Xavier. He pulled out a book from a container. He sat down. He removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose as if physically pained by the memories. I grew up in what they called the underground city, beside the border which the rich lived. It was a pretty hectic life. Food was just enough for us once a day. Normal people would have 3 to 4 meals a day. Lucky you, we eat 2 to 3 times a day. That's enough considering the workload. I was raised with 4 other siblings. I was the middle child. I was expected to carry my family because I'm the only one who got an education. Back then, education was expensive for the poor. We would have picked up trash, and if we were lucky, we might find some books. I was blessed. Well, obviously, I would be the smartest at just the age of 15. I was blessed. Well, obviously, I was blessed. Well, obviously, I would be the smartest at just the age of 5. I already knew how division works. Most kids still struggle to solve it. I still don't get why my parents would even birth us 5 when they can't even provide us a proper meal. Thinking the more children you have, the more incentives you'll get, like some sort of retirement plan. Stupid ideology from the elders. School life has been awful, being teased by the students, calling you the dirt peoples. But I'm an arrogant bitch, and their teasing fueled me more to study. Fortunately, I studied to get a PhD in philosophy and passed. None of it mattered though, after I got a high school teaching position, as if I was destined to be at a lowly job. The system was designed to have high expectations. Need an average job? Here's 20 IDs and requirements you need to be eligible. I earned just enough to pay rent and then starve quietly for the last week of every month because of those damn taxes. Taxes. Taxes are like a payment where they take your money and help the crocodiles in the government to buy things like what? Breda or Dutchie and bandana while people lose houses. That sounds awful. Hope those crocodiles are dead now. I'm sick of their white lies and fake promises. You still hate crocodiles? Nuh-uh. Crocodiles in the government. But yeah, sure. I hate my ex anyways. You have an ex? Charming, am I? Yeah, years ago, before I didn't bother to seek anyone after. But if only I could have become a professor in a university or a doctor or have some high-end job, but no, I couldn't. It would be fun to be a professor. You just talk and let your students do the work. Like, yeah, make them do the whole presentation and let them do the talking in exchange for grades that won't mean anything in the future. Thanks. Basically, manipulation. Talking about this topic makes me feel icky. Let's lighten up a bit. He opens the book to show various photographs of the world before it was full of machines, glowing screens, and wires. No pun intended. Anyways, this was my walk home after teaching classes. Thought about posting it on Chirper that evening. What's a Chirper? Oh, right, your memory situation. Forgot that your brain almost got rebooted. Imagine a place where you can speak your thoughts into a place and strangers from across the world where everyone argues over their opinions. It's called social media, and honestly, you're better off without it. He scoffs as if he's showing that social media is a bad place to be. He then flips to another section. This page is filled with images of metallic contraptions that transport people in massive glowing rectangles mounted everywhere. Whoa, what are these things? They're called cars, basically metal pods with seats and wheels that could take you across cities in minutes. Mostly powered by electricity, well, there's older models that use gasoline, once so popular. He taps a photo of massive vehicles crowding a multi-level highway. I didn't take this photo, by the way. Here you can see the bigger ones are called trucks. They're used for hauling goods. If we could find one of these things, we could move the stuff we have in here. He flips into another page showing more machinery and the glowing screens. It piqued my curiosity. Close-ups of bizarre holographic displays. Xavier rolled his eyes as he saw the picture, as if he's annoyed seeing it. Ah, yes, the billionaire's favorite assets. 50-foot holograms of celebrities hawking some fashion brand. Because clearly, what the world needed was more ways to shove ads in people's faces 24/7. These eyesores burn through enough electricity to power a hospital. Sometimes they'll sing some stupid jingle over and over again. He shakes his head, flipping the page only to freeze when he reveals the next image. The image shows a younger him, carefree and shirtless, laughing by a poolside with a cocktail in hand. The book slams shut with surprising force, thus rising from its cover. Xavier clears his throat, adjusting his glasses with a necessary intensity. That's enough reminiscing for today. I got perimeter reports to handle with. What were perimeter reports? Boris filled a perimeter report earlier. Find what looks like a risky alleyway near the eastern sector. Possibly a Lilith nesting ground in that alleyway behind the old pharmacy. Scratch marks on the walls and chittering behind the boarded up windows. Need to review these coordinates before the scavenger team heads out at dawn. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. Sue. I nod and turn toward the door, recognize the dismissal. Xavier's already writing notes on the paper. The wooden door clicks shut behind me, leaving space for Xavier to work. I made my way down the empty hallways as I decided who I should visit next. Guess I'll be going to... Okay, so now we're gonna go with Scott. You head downstairs, drawn by the rhythmic, heavy sound boots on concrete. The door opens, revealing a bleak, overcast sky outside. There I see Scott slowing down before stopping beside me. He collapses into the nearest chair, his body slumping forward like a marionette with cut strings. His breathing is heavy and uneven. I pick up his water bottle from the floor where he dropped it earlier and hold it out for him. He takes it without looking up, his hand trembling slightly as he brings it to his lips. After a few long swallows, he lowers it, still catching his breath. Thanks. He took a moment of silence, catching his breath, watching the whole open area he jogged before us. He took a moment of silence, catching his breath, watching the whole open area he jogged before watching. He took a moment of silence, catching his breath, watching the whole open area he jogged before speaking to me again. I can't do another drill like that. Not tomorrow. His voice is flat, stripped of its usual energy. There are no jokes now, no sarcasm, just raw honesty. He puts hard today. Boys doesn't know when to stop. God, this training is draining me. He set his water bottle down with a quiet final thud on the bench. Then he brought a towel to his face, pressing it against his face. I just want to sleep for a whole day. No drills, no watches. Slowly he stands, swaying slightly. I move closer, offering a steadying arm. Come on, I'll walk you to your room. He doesn't argue, just leans into the support as we make our way upstairs. We made our way down the hallway. His steps were slow and heavy. His breathing was loud and hasty. Soon enough, we reached his door. I turned the knob and pushed it open, guiding him through. I led him a few short steps to his bed. I said, leave you here to rest. He doesn't answer, doesn't even look at me. Instead, he simply shifts his body with a tired sigh and collapses onto his side. One arm raised over his head, and his hand was lying on his stomach. I could definitely smell Scott's sweat from his armpits. It's strong. But after all this time with the group, I've gotten used to everyone's smells. He must have really worked up a sweat during training. The odor hangs in the air around him. I pulled the door closed behind me and made a soft click as it shut. The hallway is quiet now. The echoes of the morning disputes have faded into a kind of weary silence. I sat myself down on the cold floor and leaned against the wooden crate that was nearby, letting my head fall back with a soft thud. For a moment, I just breathed, feeling the fatigue settle deep into my bones. Carrying Scott was tiresome, even though I barely lifted him up. I lay down into the hallways, silently waiting for Victor right where he said he'll meet me. Soon I spotted Victor leaning against the wall with a tired but gentle expression. He looked like he'd been up for hours. There was a fresh bandage wrapped clumsily around his left index finger, spot, a faint spot of blood already seeping through the gaze. He offered a small, weary smile when he saw me. Hey, you're early. Was just about to grab more tarps from the workshop. What happened to your finger? Victor glances down as if just remembering the injury. He gives a half shrug. Gun inspection. The spring-loaded mechanism snapped shut faster than I expected. It's nothing, just a pinch. He flexes the finger gently, wrenching only a little. Geez, Vic, be careful next time. I will. Don't worry about it. He shifts his weight off the wall, rolling his shoulders back with a soft grunt. The bandage on his finger stands out starkly against the grime coating his hands. He stood up for giving me a hand on the rain catcher. I got the bellows in the hallways, just need the tarps and metal wires. I carried a lot of stuff. Victor nods, seemingly relieved that I'm still willing to help Desire. Victor nods, seemingly Victor nods, seemingly relieved. Victor nods, seemingly relieved that I'm still willing to help despite his injury. Good, the tarps aren't too heavy. It should be enough for you to carry. He pushes himself fully off the wall, favoring his injured hand slightly as he adjusts his grip. We start walking together down the hallway, our footsteps creating a quiet rhythm against the worn floor beds. The silence between us is comfortable, but I can't help noticing how Victor occasionally flexes his injured figure, testing the range of the motion. So, how's the gun inspection? Did boys approve it, or did something go wrong with it? We start walking together down the hallway, our footsteps creating a quiet rhythm against the worn floorboards. The silence between us is comfortable, but I can't help noticing how Victor occasionally flexes his injured finger, testing the range of motion. So, how's the gun inspection? Did boys approve it, or did something go wrong with it? Victor glances over at me, considering his answer for a moment. Bit of both, actually. We've been having issues with the firing pins sticking. I had to disassemble the whole mechanism. It was almost done when the spring decided to have a mind of its own. Could have been worse, I suppose. You still sound like you've been working hard in this profession for years, huh? You sure sound like you've been working in this profession for years. Picked up a few things from Kraus. He taught me a lot of stuff. Let's say I get a good grasp in a lot of fields. Guess you can say I'm a jack of all trades. There's a hint of pride in his voice, mixed with the weariness. We reach the storage room door, and Victor fumbles with a handle using his hand. I feel a familiar knot of embarrassment forming in my stomach as we approach. This is where I sleep. The reality of it hits me every time. Sleeping in a storage room like a forgotten warehouse. I cringe internally as I see the room I left earlier. My mattress lies askew on the floor, blankets twisted in punts. Personal items, what few I have, are scattered around. The tarps should be stacked in that crate. He pointed to a crate that was placed in the far left corner. How many do we need? I tried to keep my voice casual, hoping to distract from the mess of a room this is. 3 tarps should do it, and about 20 feet of wire, the thicker gauge stuff. Victor moves to gather the wire while I head towards the tarps. I went and opened the crate. The tarps are heavier than I expected, but manageable. The texture looks worn, but still waterproof. By the look of it, these look like they're a bit old. They are, but they'll do the job. Water doesn't care if the tarp's pretty, just that it holds well. Victor glances at my sleeping area as he navigates around boxes and supplies. His gaze lingers for just a moment too long on my makeshift bed, and I can practically see the wheels turning in my head, or turning in his head, assumingly wondering how I sleep so casually like this. You know, Walter, you really should have your own proper bedroom. The comment hits me like a punch to the gut. My cheeks burn with embarrassment. He says it gently, not mockingly. I mean, my room is temporary, but being this messy is a bit embarrassing. Most people here share rooms anyway. Half the bedrooms in this building are either demolished, destroyed, or so filthy they're uninhabitable. You should talk to Wilfred about room arrangements. He might know who might be willing to sell space. I wouldn't be that imposing. I mean, most people probably prefer their privacy. The words feel small, uncertain. Part of me is terrified of asking for help. with admitting that sleeping among supply crates isn't working out as well as I pretend. Rather, you live in this dusty room, and rooms here are limited. As for me, I've had my own room, well used to share it with someone. The words hang in the dusty air between us, carrying more weight than their words. There's something on how he says it, each word was, or as if each word has something hidden underneath. He hefts the coil of wire over his shoulder, wincing slightly as a rough metal brushes against his bandaged finger. For a moment, his gaze dwells somewhere beyond the storage room. Victor goes quiet. A grim shadow settles over his expression, subtle but unmistakable. The kind of quiet you see someone reminiscing something from the past. The silence stretches as we gather the remaining supplies, thick tarps, metal wires, and a blue plastic drum for water storage. Mundane sounds of preparation echo the room. The rustle of canvas, the dull clank of metal on metal. The air feels weighted. I feel myself moving more slowly, giving him space. He shifts the conversation gently back to the task at hand. His voice is softer now. That broke the silence between us. We're making a smaller rain catcher this time, something more manageable, easier to move if we have to. I pretend to be absorbed in checking the tarps, running my hand over the weathered canvas to test for tears, for tears or weak spots. But I'm acutely aware of Victor beside me, the way he's gathering the supplies. Roger, can you grab the utility knife, metal wire, and pliers for me? Sure. I walked over to the tool rack on the wall, found the pliers and the utility knife right where you said they'd be. Then I carried along me a metal wire. The metal wires rattled softly as I lifted it, the metal pieces shifting against each other with a sound like distant wind chimes. I saw Victor carrying a large blue cylinder that appeared to be a water container with what seemed to be an umbrella frame inside. These supplies should be enough for what we were planning. More than that, well, more than enough. Sometimes supply, more than enough. Sometimes simpler is better anyway. As we gather everything we need and prepare to leave the storage room, Victor took one last look around the space, not at my makeshift sleeping area this time, but at the room itself. He adjusts the wire coil one final time, settling it more comfortably on his shoulder. Ready, ready. And as we step into the hallway, I catch Victor straightening his shoulders just slightly, carrying the cylinder and wires while I carry the tarps and tools. He leads the way down the hallway, the supplies bundle in his arm. Stairs are this way. Doubt that I haven't shown you this part of the base. Victor gestures towards the familiar staircase. I already have seen it. He pauses at the base of the stairs, looking at me with mild curiosity, his eyebrows raised, just slightly surprised. You've been there before. Zeke doesn't like being disturbed while on duty. There's something careful in how he phrases it. I was asked by Rick to go upstairs. I guess I didn't. I guess didn't bother him much. Victor nods slowly, seeming to file this information away. He starts up the first few steps, testing his footing with the added weight of the wire. Our footsteps echo off the walls, creating a steady rhythm that fills the silence. Don't go too often, especially during the day. He speaks in a gentle but warning tone. The words float back to me as we climb, delivered with the kind of gentle authority that comes from experience. The first floor quickly, but the first floor passes quickly, but by the second, I can feel the burn of my legs. Victor seems unbothered, moving with an easy rhythm. Are you getting used to the physical demands around here? He asked over his shoulder, not even slightly winded, not even slightly winded. Meanwhile, I'm trying not to, so how the tarps and tools are starting to feel heavier with each step. Getting there, still building up my stamina. It's an honest admission, life here is more physically demanding than anything I remember from before. By the fifth floor, the stairs have been, by the fifth floor, the stairs have become steeper for me. The handrail is worn smooth from countless hands, and I find myself gripping it more tightly as we descend. And by the time we reach the roof access door, I'm breathing harder than I'd like to admit. Victor's pace has slowed noticeably from exhaustion. He sets down the drum and gives a moment to catch our breath before the final push to the roof. The roof access door looms ahead, heavy metal painted over so many times that the surface looks more like texture than color, with a bright light on its with a bright light on its sides. Victor reaches for the handle and then pushes the door open with his hands. The hinges protest with a drawn out creak. The heavy metal door swung wide with a push of Victor's shoulder and in noonlight. The heavy door swung wide with a push of Victor's shoulder, and noon sunlight spilled down the stairwell, chasing away the dimness below. We stepped out, and I felt it immediately. A rush of fresh air, warm, and hearing the dry scent on the morning rooftop. Zeke was already there, a silent sentinel against the sky, hunched over his rifle. He was perched on the edge of the fence, his entire being absorbed in the scope's narrow world. We gave him a wide berth, moving with a quiet understanding to our own corner. The rooftop felt vast, a concrete plain under an endless sky large enough for our purpose. Victor set down the wire coil and the empty drum with a soft clang, then stretched his shoulders, a faint groan escaping him. Overhead, the wind blew steadily, a constant whispering breeze. The sky seemed so clear and windy today. Bundles of cloud drifted through an expanse of endless blue that stretched to the horizon. The breeze tugged at my sleeves and set the nearby clotheslines dancing a frantic, snapping jig. Not for long. It should rain tomorrow or later. The barometer's been dropping steadily for hours. Victor's voice carries the certainty of someone who's learned to read weather signs carefully. He glances toward the sky with an assessing look, as if confirming something he already knows. How accurate are your weather predictions usually? Pretty reliable. Not overly accurate, but it predicts rain on days. He began by unfurling the heavy tarp on the ground, wrestling with the wind to smooth its blue expanse. With a sharp utility knife, he carved out a large section, then carefully wrapped the stiff material around the umbrella's skeletal frame to gauge the size. His hands moved with a practiced efficiency, stitching the tarp into place, not with thread, but by twisting sharp lengths of metal wire through the fabric. I knelt beside him, my own hands soon busy snipping wires with pliers, lengthening and twisting the ends tight. A low, soft chuckle escaped him, barely more than a breath caught by the wind. You know, this takes me back. This feels the feel of this wire. You know, this takes me back. The feel of this wire. Me and some kids from the block. We borrowed rolls of it from a construction site. We spend whole afternoons twisting it together, building these ridiculous makeshift playhouses out of fallen branches and old seats. Thought we were genius architects. It never held, always fell apart by dinner. But man, the planning. Keep the noise down. I'm working. But it wasn't an aggressive command, it was a warning, yes, but one is with a knowing weariness. I gave a slow, acknowledging nod and returned to his work. He gave a slow, acknowledging nod and returned to his work. A happy, nostalgic warmth seemed to emanate from him as we fell back into rhythm. Under our combined efforts, the character took shape, a crude, ugly thing of plastic and wire, but ours. In the final series of twists, it was complete. Together, we hoisted the finished. When the final series of twists, it was complete. Together, we hoisted the finished piece and settled it onto the open mouth of the drum. Victor then lasted securely into place by tying the wire from the stitches to the rim of the drum. The sky had turned a deep gold, the sun scattering its last light along the horizon. Our little project stood complete. Yeah, we did. For a moment, we both stood there admiring our handiwork. The project looked rough around the edges, but there was something satisfying about building something with your own hands. Victor stretched his arms above his head, joints popping audibly in the evening quiet. Man, I'm beat. All this manual labor has me starving. Smells like Rick's got dinner going. How about we go grab some dinner together? Sounds good. I'm starving as well. A flock of birds fly across us. Didn't know there were birds to exist. Didn't know birds still existed in this timeline. Those are not bird people, not all kind. Those are chimeras. They're more of monsters than those avian folk. Guess they broke out in some zoo. Monsters? Wait, are we under attack? They're more of a pest than a predator. They won't eat you unless you're dead or a carcass. Victor gathered up the scattered tools, tossed them into the toolbox. All right, let's get down the stairs. I took one last look at our rain catcher, already imagining how it would look tomorrow morning with the first drops of dew collected in its basin. Then I turned around. I went to follow Victor downstairs. Soon enough, we reached the main floor and saw Rick cooking beside the campfire from a distance. The kitchen was alive with activity. Rick stood at the stove stirring something in a large pot that sent steam curling toward the ceiling. The warm light from the overhead fixture cast everything in a golden glow, a stark contrast to the deepening twilight outside. About time you two showed up. I was starting to think you decided to sleep on the roof. Sorry, Rick. We got a little carried away with the project. Victor slumped into one of the kitchen chairs, looking thoroughly exhausted but satisfied. What's for dinner? It smells incredible. Just some beef stew. Nothing fancy, but it'll fill you up after all that work. Rick ladled generous portions into 3 bowls. The rich brown broth. Rick ladled generous portions into 3 bowls, the rich brown broth steaming invitingly. I settled onto beside Victor, suddenly aware of how hungry I'd become. Rick set the bowls down in front of us, then took his seat across the table. How did the rain catcher turn out? Victor paused mid-bite, glancing at me before answering. Well, it's functional. Can't say it's much to look at, though. Pretty ugly, if I'm being honest. Victor nodded once, as if he expected nothing less. Good, there'll be more water now. Rick's voice is low, almost a grunt. He doesn't look at either of us, his eyes fixed somewhere on the middle distance, as if already circling the next problem, the next need. A long silence stretches between us, the only sounds the distant drip of water with a newly fixed pipe. Boris playing and ammo scavenge on Thursday. He pauses, his jaw working as if the words taste bitter. Scott, Victor, and me. Victor looked up from his bowl, his spoon pausing halfway to his mouth. The metal catches the dim light as it hovers there, forgotten. Rick's eyes briefly shift to you, including you in the conversation without words. There's no surprise in Victor's expression. There's a slow, weary understanding that settles in the lines around his eyes. He sets the spoon down carefully, the small clink echoing in the quiet room. We're that low. I could have sworn we had 3 full boxes just yesterday. Boris asked us to get more. Victor rolls his eyes, letting out a long, tired sigh that seems to carry the weight of a dozen similar misses. He pushes his bowl away slightly, appetite seemingly lost. He always asks, never gives a damn about rest. Victor holds up his bandaged finger, studying it with a mixture of frustration and resignation. I haven't even properly cleaned up from the day. He's already got tomorrow mapped out. He glances at you as if seeking silent agreement. Do we really need to? He knows what he's doing. Rick's tone is firm, leaving no room for debate, but then something shifts in his expression. His gaze softens almost imperceptibly, and when he speaks again, his voice carries an unexpected gentleness. You can sit this one out if you need some rest. You already did a lot of work today. He pauses, considering. Zeke can cover for you. And let Zeke pick the ammo. There's something else in his expression, a flicker of something more complicated than just concern. Then who's gonna watch over the base? Victor's voice carries a note of genuine worry, his eyes darting between you and Rick. I'll ask Boris about this. Rick nods thoughtfully. It's better if I go. Rick rubs the back of his neck, his fingers working at the tense muscle there. The motion is slow, deliberate, buying time to think. Where to then? Or convenience store. Rick straightens slightly, his posture shifting to something more businesslike. About 6 miles north. Xavier says there might still be some stock locked up in the back. Victor's eyes narrow slightly. The distance hangs in the air between them like a challenge. 6 miles. He processes this, the implications clear in his expression. Convenience store, not a military bunker. His voice carries a hint of skepticism. You sure about that intel, Rick? Boris makes sure. Rick's response comes with quiet confidence. Boris figured out those areas tend to have guns and ammo because of looters. Victor's expression shifts, concern creeping into his features. So we're charging in on strangers. The worry in his voice is palpable. Rick notices your subtle self-imposter. It's also made you worried as there's a possibility for raiders. Zeke scanned with a sniper, no signs of activity for weeks. Victor becomes doubtful, but slowly nods, accepting the information. Well, if there's no ammo, there's a high chance there's medical supplies. He picks up his spoon, tapping it against the bowl in a steady rhythm. 2 sounds fill the contemplative silence. His mind is clearly working through the logistics. Are we taking the old highway or cutting through the woods? Woods. Rick's answer comes without hesitation. It's safer, longer, but quieter. Yeah, safer. Victor nods, the rhythm of his tapping slowing. He sets the spoon down with finality. What time are we rolling out? We go out by the first light. Rick turned slightly towards you, his voice taking on a more inclusive tone. Kraus could use some help with the gun maintenance tomorrow. I'm hoping you can assist him. I'm not very familiar with guns, but what do I need to do? He pauses, making sure you understand. Assisting in lending him his tools. Light work, nothing too strenuous. Don't do heavy work. This genuine consideration in his voice, the kind of care reserved for someone he trusts. He turns to Victor. Don't forget to bring your pack. Travel light, but be ready. Victor gives one last nod, his gaze drifting back to his cooling food. The conversation feels like it's winding down, but the weight of Thursday's missing hangs between them. All right. He pulls at his food absently. I'll check my gear tonight, make sure the boots are still holding up. Victor pauses, then looks up at Wick. Despite the fatigue, there's a faint, tired smirk playing on his lips. You're telling Scott, why am I? He already knew. You just have to be ready. Silence falls between the three of you. The weight settles like dust in a dim light. Victor pushes back slightly. Hey, Wick. Wick pauses, half turning back. Thanks for checking. About the hand, I mean. Wick just gives a single nod. The barest hint of a smile touches his eyes. No words needed. Victor stands, leaving his bowl aside. He stretches up his arms and sighed. Well, better get some sleep. We're heading out at first light. He dries his hands on his pants, then turns back to both of you. Good night, Wick. His eyes find you, and there's unexpected warmth there. Good night, Wazir. Thanks for the help today. Don't stay up too late. I won't. Rest well, Wazir. I won't. Rest well, Victor. There's almost a brotherly concern in his voice. Victor heads toward the hallway. Disappearing into the darkened hallway, his footsteps fades. Rick finishes the last of his food, chewing thoughtfully. The silence between you is comfortable, familiar. He clears his place before speaking. You should get some rest too. He looks at you directly, and you can see the genuine concern in his weathered features. Tomorrow's going to be a long day for all of us. You did good work. Now go ahead and rest well. You did good work. Now go ahead and rest yourself. You stand, clearing your grill. You did good work. Now go ahead and rest yourself. You stand, clearing your own place too. Good night, Rick. Good night, Walter. You call softly into the hallway. Rick watches you go. He is alone in the campfire, cooking more food for the others. You walk down the hallways, but sleep isn't what calls to you. There's someone else you need to see tonight. Your footsteps echo differently. You're not heading towards your room. Instead, you make your way through the familiar corridors towards Wilfred's room. Most everyone is settled in for the night, but you know Wilfred will still be awake. He always is. And he did say you two could talk later. As you approach his door, you hear a low, measured voice from his room with an undercurrent of tension. You slow your steps, recognize the voices immediately, Boris and Wilfred. You pause in the hallway, not wanting to interrupt, but unable to help yourself, eavesdropping on what they're talking about. I documented his performance earlier. Scott's adequate, nothing remarkable. I'll be training Victor, Zeke, and Rick on Thursday. I noticed several gun malfunctions during routine maintenance with Kraus. We cannot have a faulty gun while traveling. We'll need to address those tomorrow. I'm planning to scout the area we haven't touched yet, separate from the others missing. Our materials are dwindling. We barely have enough medical equipment to use. We only rely on medicinal alternatives. And the horde has been moving faster than it should. Zeke noticed the presence of several chimera appearances today. There's a pause between them. You can almost feel the tension building. Those birds you saw earlier are chimeras. Boris, the route you're proposing, I don't know if it's going to work. The road to a huge city leaves 2 months exposure to the monsters. The buildings offer better cover and faster access to more resources. But the risk of hydras. The risk calculated. We don't have medicinal supplies, food supplies, clothing, but metal scraps, a shelter for winter, you name it. We need those resources. We need a shelter for winter. You hear the scrape of a chair, someone shifting position. The horde movements have been unpredictable lately. Your route takes you directly through a risky zone. Let's take the safer route, Boris. The farmland route is longer. Yes, it's safer and more secluded from the monsters. But the farmland is pit clean. We waste resources on a trip that yields nothing. The crops there are already dead and expired. Boris took another long pause. We've been through this before, Wilfred. We don't have enough resources for a long route. We are risking our lives. We're risking their lives, rather risking the whole team for supplies. Wilfred, we're short on medicinal supplies for medicines and alcohol. You hear both men in a frustrated, defeated sigh. Look, we'll discuss this more tomorrow. The sound of a chair scraping against the floor signals the end of their meeting. Get some rest, Wilfred. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Footsteps approach the door. Quickly, you retreat down the hallway, slipping into your own room. You hear Boris's footsteps emerge from Wilfred's room, glad that he doesn't notice you eavesdropping as he heads towards the hallways. You wait until his footsteps fade completely before making your way back towards Wilfred's door. As you stand in the doorway, you can see light still filtering from under Wilfred's door. The conversation you just overheard weighs on your mind. These men carry so many responsibilities that could mean life or death. You pause, considering whether to knock or simply retire for the night. The day has been long. Something tells you that Wilfred might need company, even if he doesn't say so, or he might need some space to focus on his work. You're still there for a while, considering your choices. I want to bust off and just leave Wilfred alone, but I'm just gonna check up and just check on Wilfred to see how he's doing. I think just leave him alone might have been a better option, but maybe if Roger can talk to Wilfred, that will make him, a little better. I raise my hand and give a gentle knock, not too insistent or distracting, just enough to let him know I'm here. Come in. He said in a gentle voice as I pushed the door open to find Wilfred hunched over his small wooden desk, several notebooks spread before him, their pages filled with his handwriting and sketches. He looks up as I enter and notice the weariness around his eyes, though he manages a small smile. Hey, Wilfred, I hope I'm not disturbing you. I saw your light was still on and thought, well, I wanted to check on you. He sets down his pen and turns toward me, his expression softening. Not at all. Actually, I'm glad for the company. Come on, grab a seat. He gestured me to his bed to sit down. I settled into his bed, sitting, touched by his immediate concern for my well-being, despite whatever he's been through tonight. How are you feeling? How's that ointment I gave you? Did it work its charm? It's much better, actually. That ointment you gave me worked wonders. When Victor and I were building the rain catcher this afternoon, I barely felt any discomfort. His face brightens proudly. I'm so pleased to hear that. Sometimes I wonder if my remedies actually help or if people are just being kind. There's a hint of vulnerability in his voice, as if he's been carrying this doubt for a while. No, it really was effective. Glad to hear that it's working well. This one will work for the winter before I make a stronger one. Relief washes over Wilfred's features as he hears that his work is successful. His shoulders relax slightly. He takes a moment to adjust some bottles on his workbench, organized with care. Aside from that, I'm also planning to make soap, finally to keep us tidy. Wilfred made, Aside from that, I'm also planning to make soap, finally, to keep us tidy. Wilfred moves toward his collection of notebooks, scanning the spines thoughtfully. His fingers hover over several different journals before settling on a particular leather-bound one. He carefully lifts it from the pile. Soap? That sounds really useful. What kind of soap are you planning to make? He smiled with enthusiasm as he opened his book. The pages are filled with handwriting sketches. I noticed his handwriting looked wonky, definitely what I thought it would write. A basic light soap with lavender oil. I found the oil during my last scavenging run to the outskirts. He turns a few pages revealing careful, detailed diagrams of the soap making process. Each step is meticulously drawn, labeled in his tight, precise writing. Lye, from wood, ash, and water. Filter it and you get lye water. Boil it down. What remains is lye. I see. You lean in slightly, tracing one of the illustrated steps with your eyes. Though where did you find lavender oil in a place like this? A small smile tugs at the corner of Wilfred's mouth. I harvested the flowers and steamed them in a sealed pot. Slowly and surely I got myself lavender oil. It isn't much, but it's enough to make a soap batch. The lavender will help us smell better, and it has natural antiseptic properties too. When are you planning to start making it? He reopens the notebook to a page marked with a small piece of string. Tomorrow, the whole process takes hours, then weeks to cure properly. It will be enough during the winter and spring. His enthusiasm begins to fade slightly as he stares at the timeline he's drawn out. Various notebooks stacked nearby, each labeled with different projects and plans. Wilfred's gaze drifts over them, and you can almost see the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He sighs as he sets the soap notebook down carefully and picks up his pen, rolling it between his fingers. Though I still need to finish mapping out our supply routes for next month, there's so much to plan. His other hand comes up to rub at his temple. Sometimes I feel like there's never enough time to get everything done. Every, Everyone's counting on these plans. I need to do it. There's a heaviness in his voice now, the earlier excitement completely drained away as he stares down at the notebook pages, knowing that it holds the weight of everyone's survival. Wilfred, you know, he looks up at you, and you can see the exhaustion behind his eyes that wasn't there moments before. You're doing an incredible job. I mean, look at everything you've accomplished: the remedies, the soap project, all the route planning. Uncertainty flickers across his expression, like he's not sure whether to believe you. His shoulders are tense again, pulled up towards his ears. You're working so hard for all of us. It's okay to take things one step at a time. Wilfred sets the pen down completely, his hands coming to rest flat on the workbench. I just, I don't want to let anyone down. There's so much riding on getting these supplies runs right. His voice is quieter now, more vulnerable than before. You can see him struggling with the weight of being the person everyone relies on for planning and preparation. You won't let anyone down, but you also can't do everything at once. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? You step closer and place a gentle hand on his shoulder. The tension in his muscles is obvious under your palm. We all see how much effort you put in. You're allowed to rest too. Slowly, you feel some of the tension begin to leave his shoulder. He takes a deep breath. Yeah, I suppose so. His gentle smile begins to replace the worry lines around his eyes. Thank you for saying that. Been putting too much pressure on myself. He straightens up. His hand reaches over with a warm and appreciative pat on your back. I really appreciate you listening and, well, caring. It means more, you know. Makes me all sappy, but thank you again for your company. The pat lingers for a moment as Wilfred glances towards the small window across the room. The sky is dark. Skies start to appear in the night. Soon comes the early morning. It becomes the early morning. I think we should rest up. It's getting quite late. You should probably get some sleep. He reaches for his pen one last time, then then seems to think better of it. Instead, he sets it down definitively and pushes his chair back from the workbench. His arms stretch high above his head as you hear several joints pop in succession. The stretch seems to release even more of the day's tension from his frame. I think I'll call it a night too. I feel lighter now. He rolls his shoulders back, working out the last of the stiffness. All thanks to you, little buddy. Anytime, Freddy. Well, getting casual, are we? Where you get that from, Kraus? He left a chuckle from your given nickname before gently smiling. The warm moment settles between you both. Maybe. All right, you bastard. Get going to bed. He left a chuckle before turning toward the door, but his voice stops you before you can take more than a step. Actually, before you go. There's a moment of hesitation as if he's gathering courage for something. Could I ask you for a hug? The request is gentle, almost sigh, completely different from his casual, confident demeanor when discussing his work. You turn back towards him, opening your arms in invitation. Wilfred steps forward, and his arms come around you in a warm, grateful embrace. The hug is firm, filled with relief, warm, and appreciation. You can feel the last of the tension leave his frame as he relaxes in the hug. Thank you for helping me feel better. You're welcome. He steps back slowly, reluctant to break a comfortable moment. His smile is softer now, more at peace than when the conversation began. He raises one hand in a small, gentle wave. Sleep well. Tomorrow's another day. Take care, Roger. You too, Wilfred. You make your way back through the quiet corridors, footsteps echoing softly against the walls. Pushing open your door, you're greeted by the simple comfort of your own room. Everything you left from the morning was still there. The mattress was still there. Some open crates from earlier with Victor while you were gathering materials. You lay down on your makeshift bed and pull the blankets. The mattress creaks softly as I lay down. The blanket feels cool against my skin as I settle onto the narrow cot. You try to sleep, but your mind is elsewhere, relaying the day's events like scenes from a film. I remember how Wick mentioned that I resemble someone in the base. I wonder who he's talking about. In Scott's underwear incident, I can't help but remember how he looked for a short glance. Then my talk with Xavier about machines and technology from the past. Then me and Victor both worked on a rain catcher. It was laborsome and definitely took a toll on my muscles. Glad I have Wilfred's ointment. Then me and Victor both worked on the rain catcher. It was laborsome and definitely took a toll on my muscles. Glad I have Wilford's ointment. Then me and Victor both worked on the rain catcher. It was laborsome and definitely took a toll on my muscles. Glad I have Wilford's ointment. Today has been eventful. As I rest early for the morrow, your breathing steadies, deepens, and so you drift into sleep's embrace, where dreams await to weave together. You've been quiet all day. Yeah, leave it, Scott. No, come on. We're supposed to be having a good time tonight. I'm fine. Hey, remember last week you were going on about that band? What were they called? Which one? The loud one, guitars and screaming. That's most of them. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You love that stuff. Here we go. I'm just thinking, what if we started a band? A band? Yeah, I'd be on guitar. Zeke, you got that guitar skills thing going on. Victor can play bass. I don't play bass. You could learn. We're 32, Scott. So? So we're not starting a band. We need instruments, and instruments cost money. We need time. We got time. We got 6 weeks. 6 weeks is nothing. There's back. Maybe not. Could get extended again. They don't extend leave twice. They don't. Fine. Okay, no band. Never thought I'd say this, but I miss the drills. You miss the drills. You always know what's next. Next is we drink. That's the plan tonight. See? Zeke gets it. We've been training for 8 months. 9. 9 months, and we haven't went to. Don't jinx it. I'm just saying. I mean, it'll happen, and when it happens, you gotta be ready. That's what the CO said. The CO says a lot of things. Guys, the only thing that's gonna get us in socks is socks in the beer. Guys, the only thing that's got. Guys, the only thing that's gonna get us is socks in the beer. Guys, the only thing that's gonna get us is socks in the bar. The bar's 2 blocks away. Can we just get there? Yeah, sorry. Don't apologize. And not talk about deployment. Not with light, but with the sound of rain drumming and steady rhythm against the metal roof. Why is I'm gonna stop here? Alright, so Wazzer decided to help Victor with getting some tools to wrap something, I guess something with the water pipes or something. But anyway, he worked on this project with Victor and he was very helpful. Rick was very satisfied. Well, he didn't see the work, but he seemed to be very satisfied by what Roger and Victor told him afterwards. So, yeah, and Victor was very thankful to Roger for his help. And Roger felt like he had purpose because so far throughout the story, Roger he wanted to help out. He wanted to contribute to the group, and he just wanted to feel useful, and he helped. with Victor. I mean, he did the light work, but the light work too can help out a lot with the group. Even just being the helper. For the guy with the heavier stuff. Victor, he's the one who does the heavy lifting, and you're the one who does more of the light work. Just assist Victor in the main stuff. He was very useful, and that's what I like about Wazir. He wants to contribute to the team. He's not trying to be some little damsel in distress here. I mean, even though they kind of do treat him like one, well, most of them. Zeke and that Boris guy, they're definitely not trying to coddle him. But Zeke and Boris are both military guys. I think everybody here really are like these guys who serve in the military. See, Wilfred and Boris, the big military guy there. Well, all the military, but you know what I mean by Boris, like drill sergeant, and maybe he had a high ranking position, I guess. But anyway, he's very, very much a hard ass. But wants the very best of everybody, and even when you do the best, it's not enough for him. So he is a guy with high expectations, and both Scott and Victor have complained about him overworking them to the point where both of them got really stressed out. They just wanted to rest with the drills and everything. And Boris did tell Roger in the previous update, the update from last year, November, well, October actually. Well, no, that was 2024, but after the last update was from May of last year, May 2025. So from that update last year, Boris told Roger that he would have to train him also. And yeah. I don't know about Roger, but I don't think he's gonna be able to even manage all that. It's bad enough just for guys like Victor and Roger, these big strong guys for them. I don't think Roger's gonna match what Scott and Roger, well, Scott and Victor were able to do out there under Boris's command, with those drills. I don't think he's gonna. I think Boris will have to go light on Roger, at least early on, to get him used to the drills, and then maybe once Roger gets used to the drills, then Boris can get tougher with him. So I think it's like a process, but I don't know about Boris, but maybe he'll at least try to be a little light on him early on, and then once Roger gets the hang of the light stuff, then over time, Boris will get tough with him. But again, I think Boris might be the guy who will get tough on you from the very start. He probably might not even care about Roger's condition, all that. He's just a military guy, tough military guy. So we see Wilfred and Boris in Wilfred's room and discussing the better ways of going through, to get access to resources or something like that, and picking which route is a safer route. Both of them made some valid points. It's a dangerous situation they're about to go into with the chimeras, these monsters and all that stuff. And plus, you got one area that can't really grow crops really, and another area like basically like open field and where monsters can get them, and so it's a bad situation, but hopefully everybody survives. Hopefully we don't lose anybody. But again, there's always a chance that somebody might lose their life, here in this group here. We'll just have to see. In that dream, I don't know, maybe I should have started the next video with that dream, but anyway. This dream with Roger and Zeke and Victor and Scott, and them talk about forming a band, and the fact that they're like these military guys, I guess. Roger does have amnesia, and apparently it's so severe that he doesn't even know what cars are or what social media is. So I forgot that guy's name, but he's that saber-tooth guy there, the saber-tooth tiger looking guy, had to explain what cars and social media and trucks are to him in the past. I mean, it seemed like Walter didn't know what the past was at all. So it was as if, like when Walter was talking to the saber-tooth tiger looking guy, it's like hearing a baby, a little toddler talk about what cars are, what basic stuff is. Yes, that's how severe his amnesia is. But he certainly doesn't know anything about the past or modern cities, modern life, vehicles. Now the saber-tooth tiger guy, he got a PhD, so he's a very smart guy. He's always smart in school, but despite that, he only got a job teaching high school. And he really wanted to be a college professor, but that's all he was able to do. And he ranted against the government, which is run by crocodiles. They got some people who think that the world's run by reptilians, so I guess the crocodiles are like their world's version of reptilians. And they only care about power and they care less about the people. So not much different from this world here, our world, so Earth. So and he also had to explain to Waza what taxes were. So yeah. He seems to be a little sassy, especially telling Waza to sue at the end there. And just the way he talks about his life and how the world used to be. He's kind of a sassy guy. Okay, so I think about that dream Waza had with the others. I think that was Walter's past. I could be wrong, but I think that's his past. And somehow the other guys may not remember Walter. They may not remember Walter, or maybe they do remember Walter. Maybe they do remember Walter, but for some reason they're keeping something from Walter. Like they're not telling Walter, hey, we know you. Or why don't you remember us? All that stuff. Maybe they're keeping a secret for some reason. But again, maybe they don't remember Walter at all. Maybe they got some kind of amnesia also. And I guess the event, this catastrophic event that happened somehow must have caused them to have some kind of amnesia, or maybe the aftermath of it. And they may may have happened, and they cause them to have some kind of amnesia where they don't have full memory of each other or the past. So maybe they do. I think all of them were friends, or at least military buddies in the past. Now they all said that they were 32 years old, same age I am. I'm 32, and they're all 32 years old, and so and they say that's too old for them to start a band. So apparently they all must be in their 30s at least now. So yeah, I wonder how old um Wilford and that Boris guy and Kraus is. Kraus, he seems a little younger to me, but I may be wrong. But anyway, I wonder how old those other guys are. Okay, so we'll continue next time. So thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.